Mrs. Drosh and I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen and watch our keynote presentation on how children learn.
Our children start off drinking milk, then eating baby food. As they develop teeth, they start to eat real food.
We guided and encouraged our children as they learned to crawl and walk. Before we know it, they are off and running.
We start our children off with training wheels. As they become more balanced and gain confidence, we take off the training wheels and send them off on their own. But we don't do it too early. The first sign of a training wheel coming off the ground, we don't take them off because the children would probably fall and not be afraid to get back on the bikes. We wait until we see that the training wheels aren't being used at all, even in the difficult area of turning corners.
It is the same when our children learn to read and write. We must give them the support that they need to develop skills and to become independent.
First steps in reading. These are some books that you may have already seen come home with your children.
We teach the students to point to the words as they read so they learn that one word they speak matches one word on the paper. You will notice in the picture that the child has their finger right under the word. That is something that we ask the children to use while they're reading, is to point under the word while they read. Later on, we will ask them to put that finger away.
We start by building an understanding that one word of print equals one spoken word. Here you'll see some cubes at the top of the book. We try, if the child adds an extra word that isn't on the page, we try to show them using cubes that one word they speak is one of those cubes. You could try Cheerios or any other type of food item or even pennies that you have at home, that you can match the words they say to the words that are on the page.
As they really start to read, we ask them to put their fingers away and stop pointing to the words. This won't happen for quite a while, mostly toward the end of kindergarten. Some of your children are already there, but most of them at this point really need that finger. When children come to a word that they are unsure of, we ask them to get their mouths ready. Make the sound of the first letter, look at the picture, and think about what makes sense.
Without pictures, it's difficult to know what the words mean. Do you know what these words are? This is really kind of what the words look like to our children right now. They look kind of Chinese. They need the pictures to be able to figure out what they're reading.
The pictures help us to understand what the words mean. Now that you see the pictures that go along with these Chinese symbols, I bet you could figure out what they actually stand for.
The next part we do is we ask them to look at the first letters of the word. Does this say airplane or plane? Does it say school bus or bus? Oftentimes in their reading, a picture can be a bit confusing, so we ask them to look at that first letter, get their mouth ready, and it's clear to see that it says plane and bus.
The first steps in writing.
Singing the ABC song is just the beginning. Students need to match letter shapes to their sounds. They work to hear the sounds and words they wish to write while thinking about what the letters represent for those sounds. It's like juggling when kids are learning to write. They have to be thinking about what letter makes that sound, how does their hand form that letter. There's a lot of work, so give them time.
At first, they write just the first sound that they hear. So ball would be B and dog would be D.
As they get better at hearing the sounds, it's quite common that they'll then hear the last sound. So they hear the beginning B sound in ball, and then they hear that little sound at the end. The same with dog. They hear the beginning D, and then they hear the G for the G. At this point, we're thrilled. If any middle sounds come in there, it's just gravy.
If it is spelled wrong, it is okay. As you can see in this picture, it says the pumpkin. It is not spelled correctly. But the fact that this child is seeing that or hearing that all of those sounds make up that word and writing them down, that's fabulous.
The most important thing right now is that they want to write. If they're constantly being corrected and told what they're writing isn't correct, they're not going to want to pick up their pencils.
First steps in math.
Learning the numbers, what the numbers mean, is the first thing we work on. It's not merely enough to be able to count. They need to know that one, the number, means one object.
Children need to count objects, write numbers, sort, tally, and graph. This helps develop a strong foundation to build on. So what math looks like in our kindergarten classroom isn't really what you might think math would look like. We're not sitting down and asking the children to do 2 plus 2. We are showing them what 2 means. We are showing them how to make a graph. That way, when they get into the upper grades, they will be able to do 2 plus 2 and understand what adding is.
The best gift we can give our children is the gift of time. Don't rush them. Let them move at their own pace and build a strong foundation for the years to come.